Just wanted to learn about your background in real estate. I know you've been doing it for about 8.5 years. Is that right?
A little over now. Yeah, 8.5 years. I guess that's right. Yeah.
Okay,
This is my ninth year.
great. Yeah, so just want to learn more about how kind of your journey, just how you got into it, your client process for how you grew the business, and just kind of learn more about the process you have in place because I think there's a lot of people that are intimidated or people that aren't having a lot of success. So I just want to talk to people that are having success and kind of that a program or system in place to get to that point. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So how did you get started in being a realtor?
Well, yeah, my first career that I was pursuing was coaching college basketball. And so when I didn't really want to do that anymore, I got outside sales jobs with like various companies, like big companies like Granger and a company called Praxair. And in the midst of that, I bought my first house. And I kind of, while I was buying the house, fell in love with the process. And so I always kind of just planned in the back of my mind, like, I'd like to do that on the side someday, just like kind of as a side gig. And as time went on, like I just really didn't like my job. At the time, I was selling welding gas and I was making sales calls to people who knew way more about welding gas than I did. And they were asking me questions and it was stressing me out. And at the same time, I was studying for my real estate license. And I just got so anxious about it that one day I just quit. I was like, I quit. And my boss was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, what are you going to do? I said, real estate. And he goes, good luck. It's like, oh, great, thanks.
There's some motivation
So,
for you.
without even having my license, I jumped into it full time, which is looking back on it was really stupid and scary, but it forced me to be all in, right from the get go, which I think ended up being an advantage for me because there was no like, well, if this doesn't work out, I can do this or I can have a fallback plan. It was one of those things where I could just kind of attack it. And at the time, I didn't have a wife or any kids, and so it was if I had a bad month or didn't get paid, like it was just me, eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and Cheez-Its or whatever to get by.
Yeah, you burned the ships. Good for you for being all in. So how did you get your first clients?
Man, there's a lot of just pure hustle, I think. Obviously, I was born and raised in Decatur, and so I had a good kind of sphere already where I kind of knew a lot of people, and a lot of people, trusted me. And so I got some clients that way, but also just, being the one at the office all the time and answering my phone all the time and developing good relationships with other realtors, doing a lot of open houses, doing favors for other people, just staying as busy as I could. And in all honesty, I wasn't very successful in the beginning. I think I sold 1.6 million total my whole first year. I made like 30,000 bucks. I was starving. And then actually the start of my second year, I didn't sell a house for almost the entire first quarter. And my managing broker pulled me in and she said, if this is going to happen, it's going to happen now. It's got to happen now. And after we'd had that conversation, I just kind of had a come to Jesus moment where I was like, God, like, if this is what you want me to do, like, I need you to make it obvious. And in the next 6 weeks after that, I sold more than I did my entire first year. And so it was just kind of like from there, I had the confidence that I knew that this is what I was supposed to be doing and had a decent second year and made some good money. And then like really the third year just took off. The brokerage I was working for, like they were really focused on sphere of influence and like just kind of getting your own leads. And so that really forced me to organically grow a book of business by, making phone calls and texts and emails and just trying to get as many connections as I could. And then I think also what helped me is that I feel like I was a little bit ahead of the game in terms of Central Illinois real estate that I started using social media as a advertising platform right away because I looked at kind of the landscape. I couldn't afford to do anything like a radio commercial or a billboard or a TV commercial or anything like that. I had no money. And so my strategy was, and looking back on it, some of it was really stupid, but my goal was just to post every day to remind people that I'm a realtor. And so whether it was a realtor.com article or a new listing or an open house or whatever, I was posting every single day just to kind of be my organic billboard. And that really, I think, got the word spread that I was in the industry and that I was taking it seriously. And it helped me to get people to like know me and like me and trust me early in my career.
So as things have evolved now to 8.5 years, how do you generate leads now? Are you still doing the same type of approach, or is it more referral based?
Both, both. My social media really is a part of my referral and sphere of influence stuff. It's really because the people who I'm friends with are the ones seeing my post for the most part. And really, like, that is all just designed to stay top of mind. And so, yeah, like I would say 90 to 95% of my business is referral and sphere of influence based.
Are you still so as far as social media? How often do you post on there, and is it the same type of content you were doing before?
No, it's definitely evolved. I got involved in coaching with the Tom Ferry program. And even before I could afford it, I was listening to all their podcasts and listening to all their content. And, their big emphasis was video, video, video. And at the beginning of my career, I was just posting links and posting pictures and stuff like that. When they kept saying video, 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 I thought, well, what are you supposed to do with the video? I have no idea what to do. And so with my coaching background, I developed a Monday motivation video that I did every week. And then in Decatur, there's a lot of people who whine about how there's nothing to do. And it honestly makes me mad. And so kind of out of spite, I started doing things to do in Decatur, this weekend video every Thursday or Friday. So then I automatically had 2 videos that I was posting per week. And at the beginning, they were terrible. I mean, I was just terrible. I was just doing it like with my phone, like selfie style. And, once I just didn't screw up my spiel, that was good enough and I would post it. But now I've got a videographer and got much more help to make more quality content.
So as far as obviously a lot of referrals, are you still focusing on new leads? I mean, is that something that's a part of your business plan now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's still to me, like, I'll take whatever I can get. I do a little bit of Zillow, but not very much. So I'll take those leads. But really, like, I'm trying to organically get leads by, getting my past clients to refer me to their family and their friends, or getting my friends to spread the word, or I'm doing a lot of like kind of geographic farming. So in the school district that I coach at, Mount Zion, I'm really trying to farm there. And so I'm doing a lot of advertising there. I'm also involved with the coaching basketball. Then I facilitate the CEO program, which is kind of an entrepreneurship class for seniors in high school. And so I do that. And so I've just kind of honestly just dove in with both feet, into getting involved in the community and doing things that I enjoy doing anyway, and using that to kind of farm
Yeah,
the location.
that's great. And teaching entrepreneurship is really important and doesn't happen enough. So kudos to you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And I just got a couple questions more on leads because I think that's something that a lot of realtors struggle with. You mentioned Zillow. Is that kind of where the majority of your leads come from? And is that quality in there, or is it just kind of you're fighting over everybody else?
No, so our office is a Zillow Flex office. And so I kind of have it to where really I only get certain leads. I don't want my phone ringing all day, every day with Zillow stuff because, I did that at one point in my career and I found myself chasing these, $50 to $75,000 buyers who were asking for CFDs. And, eventually, excuse me, eventually, you kind of have to decide how you want to spend your time. When I think of, like, with my coaching, they often talk about income producing activities. And I feel like there are other income producing activities that better serve my business than, chasing cold leads that you transact 1 out of every 10, and especially now that I have a family, I don't want to have to choose between, showing $320,000 houses at night or having dinner with my family. So it's just kind of different. I think if I were young and single, and again, I would probably still be more open to those leads, and I'd probably be a little bit more active with that. But I'm blessed enough to be more established in my career and be able to pick and choose kind of what I want to do.
Or when you get a lead like that, do you guys use a CRM tool, or do you have a system in place to just nurture those leads? Because there could be leads that maybe aren't ready to buy today, but maybe they will be in 6 months.
Correct. And yeah, that's a really good question because we do now. We use Boomtown, which isn't going to exist, I think, in a few months. And so we're going to switch to Follow Up Boss. But to those realtors who can't afford their own CRM, because it's kind of hard to have a CRM if you're a solo agent, I just really developed a Google Sheets, and I started like, if I met someone at the coffee shop and they were told me they were interested in buying a house, I could quickly get out my phone and put them in my Google Sheets on my buyers tab and just kind of develop your own CRM. And so I just kind of developed different columns of like, when was the last time I made contact with that person? What were they looking for, and things like that. So that was really a big turning point for me, was when I created that kind of organic CRM, because it really allowed me to follow up the way a realtor is supposed to follow up and stay more organized.
Yeah, to that following up, what does that look like for you? Because I know there's some people that want to do face to face, there's email, text, social media. Are there ways that you found that are more effective to follow up with people?
I used to be a strictly dial guy, like make your phone calls, make your phone calls, make your phone calls. And I have really backed off of that, just because, if I make 10, 20 calls in a day, I probably get two or three connections and the rest are voicemails and then they don't get back to me. Where I feel like if I text somebody, they always text me back. And so I'm a little bit more of a mixture in terms of phone calls and texts now. I don't do nearly as much email marketing as I should. We have some automated email stuff from Boomtown, especially updating people on listings and stuff, but I don't do enough of it. When we're going to switch to Follow Up Boss sometime here in the next few months. I'm actually going to hire somebody to run that for me, and really, because I've never taken the time to really learn everything that the CRM is capable of. And I know that I'm not tapping into that at all. And so if I can hire somebody to like really maximize that potential, I think that could help me out a lot, because I had one realtor tell me that if I were to max out the potential of the CRM, that I would gain at least $1 million in sales. And that's all I needed to hear. So I was like, okay, I guess I need to do this.
Most realtors don't get the full. I mean, you look at any industry, no one gets the full benefit of a CRM because it's just there's so much to it, and people
Right.
are on it, and then obviously other things pop up. So it's really hard to stay focused and make that a part of your daily routine. So it is important to automate what you can there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy. Like whenever I do a drip or something, or one of those like automatic text messages that go out to everybody, all of a sudden you get like 25 responses in one day, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is awesome. Why don't I do this more?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, no, email is great. I mean, I've used that in my businesses, and people think it's dead, but it's so important because people will get back to you, people will check it. It's just the repetition of it to
Hmm.
out. Because a lot of people, you know how it is in sales. It's like there's some people that just make one phone call and that's it. It's the people that make five, six phone calls that really have success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There were some stats that our office was going through a few months ago that said like it was an average of like 4 or 5 follow-ups before you even got an appointment. And so it's interesting how persistence can really play a factor in transacting.
Yeah, no, I agree. How do you do that? Obviously, that's with new clients. How do you do that with older clients? Let's say someone bought a house from you 5 years ago and they're thinking about moving again. How do you stay in touch with those, or do you have a process for that?
Yeah, so my goal every day is to text or call 5 past clients per day and 5 like hot leads per day. And so I'm always, trying to stay in touch, because I want to have clients for life. I don't want it drives me crazy, because it does happen to see like an NLS that a past client bought a house to another realtor, like that really fuels my fire. So I'm constantly trying to stay in touch. And then I try to have a client event once per quarter. So first quarter, I had a client event at the cigar shop. It was actually more kind of a low key one, where I just invited all my clients who smoke cigars and had a whiskey tasting, and we watched basketball and ordered pizza and did all that. I've done happy hours in the past, where like I just invite my whole client list to a happy hour for 2 or 3 hours and I pay for all the drinks. And you know that's been gold. I'm gonna do this quarter. I'm doing when the summer in June. We have like a local ice cream food truck, and I'm just going to park it in my neighborhood and just tell people to come get ice cream for free for a couple hours, and just do that. So just try to find creative ways to have fun and do the things I like to do anyways, and make them client events, and you know, try to
Those,
get leads, but
those
try
are
to get leads. But I had one really, really good story from it. I actually sold a house to a woman a few years ago, and it was one of those dual agency situations where she only called me because my name was on the sign. And invited her to a happy hour and sat at the bar and had a drink with her. And she was like, I'm thinking about moving again. And I'm like, oh, really? Sure enough, like a month later, she found a house that she really wanted. She bought it and then listed her current house with me. And I don't know that she would have even remembered to call me, if we wouldn't have sat at the bar and had that drink. And so it's just, I think making your clients feel like they're more than just a transaction to you, like that you're their friend and that you truly care about them. I think that's really the name of the game in terms of getting referral business.
Right. Yeah. Because a lot of industries are commoditized. Real estate's no different. It's like, how do you stand out? How do you differentiate yourself? And it doesn't take a lot, but it just takes a system to follow up on. You just run into people face to face. Obviously, is the ultimate way to do that because they bought from you in the first place, so they're going to continue to. Do you guys, as a brokerage or individually, do you guys ever like do ads on Google or Meta, or is it more just the other social media way?
I boost some of my social media through Meta. That's kind of individually. I don't really know what our office does. That's a really good question. I probably should ask that. But could you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. Obviously, you mentioned social media, but as far as posting ads, whether it's on Facebook or on Google, just an ad on Facebook or Instagram or Google that maybe drives traffic to you.
I don't think so. I know that I've been really hot and cold with my Google business profile, and I've had some really positive outcomes to paying attention to that. But it just seems like when I get in the busy seasons, like it's just one of those things that drops. I need to do a better job of asking for reviews because I've gotten leads from other realtors in other markets, referrals because they've seen my Google business profile and they've seen good reviews. I know that can be a really valuable tool. I don't pay enough attention to it.
Yeah, I was going to kind of follow up to that. Are there activities that you do now that don't generate revenue, or like you take up your time that you're just going, why am I doing this? Because it's just not helping grow my business.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. I would say that the one I could probably point to would be maybe social media doesn't give me the return on the time that I spend on it, but I enjoy doing it anyway. I have fun with it. And so that doesn't bother me. And I know that people are seeing it. So it's producing what I wanted to produce, but it's probably in terms of the time I spend on it, it could be better.
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge with social media. It's really hard to track attribution to know if it's even working. You put it out there, you think it's good content, you maybe get a couple likes, you don't really know, but if it resonates with one person,
Yeah.
that could
My
be.
thing with it is that my goal is to stay top of mind. And so, I don't think that I'm going to sell a house to somebody because they see a social media post and they really like it and they decide to work with me there. But, I want when people think of Decatur real estate to think of me first. And so if they see my billboards and they see me on social media and they see the sponsorships and they see the different things that I'm doing, I'm hoping that it's all cultivating that response of when people think of real estate, they think Blake Reynolds.
Yeah, got it. This kind of dovetails to what I asked before, but is there a part of your business you would like to automate where you just go, I don't have to worry about this and it's just done for me?
Yeah, it's interesting. Our office actually currently lost our transaction coordinator. And so that's been a little bit of a challenge in trying to get that like re-automated. So that's what kind of comes to mind first. And I highly recommend if somebody's feeling that need to have something automated to get a transaction coordinator because they can be a godsend. I am actually, so one of my CEO students who's graduating soon, she's going to come do an internship with me this summer. And she's going to take over all of my like Canva social media posts. She's going to do those and she's going to take over my closing gifts. So she's going to go to the store I go to get closing gifts. She's going to purchase them with my card and then she's going to deliver them to the client. And so that's one thing that I want to be automated because I fall behind on it because I heard this advice that you're not supposed to give closing gifts at the closing table because they're thinking about a million different things there. They can barely even remember that you're giving them a closing gift. It's the 2 weeks after that if you give the closing gift now, they are staying top of mind again and they're thinking more about referring you to their friends than they were when they were signing their life away to buy a house or sell a house. I've tried to do that, but then in the midst of that strategy, I forget to even do it at all. And so that's one thing I'm going to automate this summer. And then along with the Canva stuff with social media. Other than that, I would love, this is more unrealistic, but I'd love a personal driver. That'd be great.
That would be nice. Yeah, the top ones always have it's nice to be driven around. Like I see the guys in New York or LA have drivers. That's pretty sick.
And eventually, I think we'll all have the cars that drive themselves, but that'll be a little bit more scary than a personal driver.
Right. Yeah. Kind of speaking of AI, do you guys
Oh
use
yeah.
AI for follow up or marketing or anything?
I don't know about follow up. I know we obviously use it for like listing descriptions. I use it to develop my content for social media. So like I can't think of what to do. I'm using it to generate scripts. We're using it for different things like, coming up with like our office like mission and vision and yeah, things like that. Trying to think what else we use it for. I think that might be it.
Yeah. Do you have concerns about using it, or is it not something you kind of delved into? You kind of like more of the personal relationship?
I think I like the personal relationship, but I know that it's AI is such a factor that I'm going to have to learn it. I feel like every real estate conference you go to, it's part of the conference now. Every podcast you listen to, it's part of the content there. And I think it's important for me. And I don't consider myself old by any means, but I think it's important to keep younger people around you because they're learning this stuff a lot faster than we are. And I think that helps me kind of keep not ahead of the game, but like try to keep up as much as I can with certain things. But I don't know. I think there's a little bit of it that's scary because it's so unregulated so far, but I know that it can be useful. And I'm already experiencing it with, you know, just as a consumer, when you click on something on social media, you automatically get a message from AI. And, I tried to get my internet fixed last week and I'm talking to an AI, virtual assistant thing. And so it's going to be part of our world whether we like it or not. Luckily, in an industry like real estate, I don't think you can really take the personal out of it enough to really rely solely on AI as a real estate like buyer or seller.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're talking about ages. I talk with older realtors that are very hesitant, but they know that's where it's going.
Mhm.
The younger ones are starting to embrace it more just because it's not going away.
No.
It's here to make your life easier. It's just a little overwhelming. Because I talk to a lot of people that are like, yeah, I like to do the descriptions, but there's other aspects to it that they don't understand. So it is kind of interesting what age group you're in as far as how willing you are to embrace it.
Yeah. How are you using it?
We use it in a few different ways. I just look at it as kind of how to fill the funnel, sales funnel. So we do lead generation. So it could be ads.
Okay.
Like the social media you were talking about is interesting because I don't see enough realtors, I feel like, are not using it in a good enough way. Not that it has to be really polished, kind of what you're talking about at the beginning, but just to have it edited so it looks slick, so it looks nice. Because if it's like I was talking to a realtor a couple weeks ago. It was like some of these houses that I'm listing, like $1-2 million houses. If I'm putting out some UGC content that's not really good, it doesn't reflect well. So I want to have it feel have luxury. So it's just trying to create content that looks nice, that appeals to that type of buyer that would be interested in paying more for a home.
Hmm.
And then the other thing we use it for, you mentioned CRM, and there's a lot of tools out there, but this is kind of funny you're saying that because I talk to so many realtors that aren't using it well. So we've used it to just we have our own CRM, but we use it also just to educate people, like how to use it, kind of how to train people on how to use it. Because if you're just doing 10% of it, kind of to your point about, hey, you're leaving $1 million on the table if you're not using it to its full benefit. So just I call it kind of like optimization or a boost in order to get
Hmm.
using it the right way and just kind of train people on here's the systems. And once you get it set up, it goes. It's just like that learning curve is so large in the beginning, especially if you're moving from Boomtown to follow up. I got to start this all over again, and there's so many hours in the day that you don't want to be staring at a screen trying to figure out how to do a CRM tool.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I have done such a poor job of learning the capabilities of Boomtown that I see the switch as an opportunity, because this will actually force me to sit down or, hire somebody to sit down and learn this from the ground up. And, our whole office will be being trained on it at the same time instead of where, when I first joined my brokerage, everybody else knew how to use Boomtown already. And so I kind of got left in the dust in terms of just maximizing its potential. But now I get that opportunity, the same opportunity as everybody else to really learn the ins and outs of it.
Right. So how is it as you've grown your business? Just kind of give me a rough indicator, like how is your client value gone up? Obviously, everything's negotiable when it comes to now the changes with realtors, but like how has your business grown to where you were doing that $320,000 deal to like what's average now for you?
So we're one of the more affordable housing markets in the entire nation. So it's pretty low. So our county's average sales price is in 2024 was about 150,000. And so in my average sales price was 225,000. So that's been a big emphasis for me, is trying to raise my average sales price. Um, and I think there's a couple factors there. I think one, excuse me, is who you're marketing to and who your ideal client is and going after that person. But I think it's also just been a kind of a season of life for me where like my friends are getting older and my friends, are selling their first house and upgrading and doing things like that. So I think that's kind of been a big factor of it too.
That's all the questions I had, unless you had anything for me. That was really helpful.
What market are you in?
I work, I own an agency called Zenvi. And so we work with brokerages and realtors to basically automate the sales funnel so you can spend more
Okay.
closing business in less time doing all the other things that we talked about. And obviously, some of the stuff you're doing is in person, which is really beneficial. But there's the other side of it, kind of like the back office that realtors just don't want to spend time on. So we do that for them. So I mean, CRM, it sounds like you have opportunity with that, but it's more like for you would be like how do we improve lead generation? Like you mentioned ideal client like ICP. Like how do we find the ICP to get that to raise that value up? And then how part of that is like kind of goes into social media and ads. Like how do we present ourselves in a good way and then qualify buyers? And you're talking about Zillow, like you don't have the time to do that. So how do we qualify the right buyers, get them to the sales funnel so it's always full? So when days are crazy busy, you don't have to spend time on it. When it's slow, you still have leads coming.
Okay. This is Zen V, like who is in Victor?
Yeah, ZNVY.
Oh, BY. Okay.
I can send you an email afterwards, just with what we've done for some other realtors, and if it's a good fit for you, great. It's just a way to make your life easier because
Hmm.
we talked about there's so much in real estate that's been done the same way for 50 years, and obviously it's evolving. And so how do you create this brand so you can have your drive? So how you can grow this?
Yeah. No, that sounds awesome. I think that doesn't even just sound good for me. I think it's something maybe our whole office should listen to.
Okay,
I think we have or if we're still recording, I'm not going to want you to put this on there, but
I'll pause it right now.
so we're